warm welcome to today's Oneness session. My name is Nikki. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, I would like to give you a short introduction. Several of us working for Onepoint Consulting have been meditating on a regular basis. And this meditation practice, which is called Raj Yoga, the yoga of the mind, has been very helpful in the working place. And not only in the working place, but also in our personal lives. So we started this project in May 2020, and we have had more than 95 guest speakers. And they have been very experienced meditators who share their thoughts on a particular topic and also guide us into a short meditation. So today I'm very pleased to welcome Benoît, who joins us from France. Welcome, Benoît.
Thank you.
Short introduction about Benoît. Benoît is a scriptwriter, film director, and a producer. He has worked in market research and advertising in Paris. Benoît has been a vice president and managing director of a French luxury fashion house in New York. He has also exhibited some of his watercolor artwork in a Paris gallery. And today, Benoît is going to share with us on the topic of service through the mind, which essentially is serving the humanity through our thoughts. So Benoît, over to you for today's session.
Thank you, Nikki. Service of the mind and service through the mind. How do I feed my mind? What kind of food, that is, what kind of thoughts, emotions, feelings do I give to myself? Where are my thoughts during the day? In fact, 90% of my thoughts are not necessary. I'm not even talking about thoughts of anxiety or doubt or fear, just useless thoughts, thoughts that I don't really need to have, thoughts that don't create anything, thoughts that don't uplift the self. Every day, my mind is under influence. My mind is DUI, driving under influence. Outside influences from people and situations, but also inner influences due to all sorts of identifications. So many identifications that we are not even conscious, aware of. You know, identification to the body, identification to the race, identification to the language I speak, a country I live in, identification to all kinds of things like that. And service of the mind is also about reconciling mind and heart. I've got to let the mind open the door of the heart so that I can get back to the point where love is not just another emotion that is dependent on someone else, you know, on an outside stimulus, but it is the innate natural state of the soul where love is part of me. Love is filling me and making me happy without any attachment or disillusions. And yes, meditation, as well as all forms of art, particularly music, are very useful to open the gate of the soul. So I started my spiritual journey to fulfill two personal needs. The first one is that I was looking for something that makes sense and gives meaning to my life. Something that clearly helps me understand who I am, why I'm here, what's the point of playing the game of life, and so on. And the second need is I wanted to do something for the world somehow. And that's why as soon as I started this Raja Yoga meditation, I got involved in several UN and UNESCO projects related to peace and education, especially in Africa. One of these projects was about asking people all over the world to give every day a minute of peace to their own mind and to the world. And after 6 months of collecting all kinds of thoughts, millions of these minutes of peace were symbolically offered to the UN General Secretary in New York City. And recently, I heard that a few years later, in the war between Israel and Lebanon, that's, in the late 80s, a few American researchers created a project called International Project for Peace in the Middle East, and they sent in the war zones what they called a commando of thinkers who had been trained into optimistic meditation with the mission to feel happy while spreading a feeling of peace. In order to do so, they had to stay in the mindset, in the consciousness that war was already over. And everywhere this squad of pink helmets, as they would call them, everywhere they went, the peace that they rejoiced about became a reality. Terrorist actions stopped, offensive and countermeasures decreased significantly, ceasefires were respected, and so on. But as soon as they stopped feeling peace, war would start again. And the same test was repeated with the same result, which is the dream of peace will always win over war. From this experience, researchers from the Princeton University defined the number of people's minds needed to stop conflicts. And they came up with that figure: square root of 1% of the population need to feel peace in order for peace to become reality in the concerned area, which for the world means about 8,000 volunteers' minds, according to, this is figures of 2007. So square root of 1% of the population feeling peace in their mind would be enough, according to Princeton, to create peace all around. But look at the world today. It's war and famine everywhere, and it's going to get worse and worse, I'm afraid. So either you become depressed or you become an anarchist, and if you're not a French doctor or an ultra-rich philanthropist, what can you do? When looking at the state of the world, the word that comes, it is absurd. This world is becoming absurd. Everywhere and in every domain, whether it's political, economical, or social, never mind greed, ego games, corruption, or violence, when you are surrounded by noise, stress, and an atmosphere of anxiety, the only safe place left is your own inner refuge, the inner space. The only path left is the mind path. And from that space, I can spread good vibrations to the world. People need physical help. They need food, they need health, they need access to clean water and education, but also, and maybe mainly, they need mental and spiritual help, especially among traders, politicians, and religious leaders, but also among all the distressed young people everywhere, especially after the lockdowns that we had. So even if it may seem a bit abstract, service through the mind can be very helpful and effective. But for that, of course, my mind needs to be clear, not traffic jammed with all sorts of waste and stress. My mind needs to make sense. So I need to nourish my mind with good, natural, healthy, spiritual food. It's not a question of suppressing anything, meaning suppressing unhealthy or unnecessary thoughts. Because if you suppress anything, you'll get the kickback sooner or later. It's more a question of balance. I measure the weight of my own shadows on the scale of what I want to be, what I want to do with my life. And I learn how to replace the stuff I'm not interested in anymore with things that help me keep my mind what I want to be. So that means replace unnecessary wasteful thoughts with more elevated and creative ones. Thoughts that pull me up instead of pushing me down. Altruistic thoughts instead of selfish, self-centered ones. High road feelings of powerful wishes for the world. For that, I have to remain constantly aware, sorry, I have to remain constantly aware of my original elevated truth. And for that, I don't need a guru or a guide. I just have to listen to my own intuition and remember who I really am. So what I would like to do at this point, if I can, and if it works, I would like to show you a short, little watercolor meditation video, which I put together.
I am now in my inner space, that place where I feel so safe, so secure, that place that belongs to me, that place that nobody can invade, that nobody can take away from me. And in my inner space, every day, I start the day exploring my own depth, realizing who I am. I am not just a spiritual entity, but I carry the knowledge of the world, the knowledge of time. I can travel beyond time, back and forth, in the past or the future as I wish, in any part of the world in 1 second. I'm sending powerful vibrations of love to people who are very far away. And these vibrations are very powerful. I'm sending thoughts of relief to people who are suffering everywhere. I can fly over refugee camps everywhere and drop above their heads a soft veil of lightness, of peace, of compassion and courage. I let the intuition catch these thoughts, these feelings. The lighter these thoughts are, the more powerful. I take a distance from my own little problems. I liberate myself from them. The world is with me and I am with the world. I am with my true self. And I start using the richness deep inside me. And in my inner space today, there is my spiritual swing. It's such a beautiful swing. And I can sit there and feel so free, and I can just swing, and I feel so light. I just have to swing, that's all. And just by doing that, I can transform a lot of all those things that I carry with me. While I'm on my swing, I'm also this diamond which receives this very pure white light and then reflects this in many different colors that people down there can receive, that they will catch. And I'm just swinging on my swing, and I let all these different colors reach the world below. And I can fly over, I can invite on my swing people in Ukraine, people in Afghanistan, people in Yemen, in Lebanon, and so many different places of the world. And I just invite them and share with them a little bit of this lightness, which is so important and which nourishes my everyday thoughts. So I am with my true self, and I start using the richness deep inside me. I now go back to my life feeling very aligned and confident.
But to help the world to do what we call mansa seva or sakash, it's not so much a question of me sending good vibes to particular places of the world. It's not so much doing, but being. I just have to remain all the time in such an elevated and natural state of consciousness that I can spread it largely to the world. It's not something difficult. In fact, the higher I am spiritually, the lighter and the more detached I am, the larger it spreads and reaches souls everywhere with a lot of power. And again, the image that first comes to mind is that of the diamond. I am a diamond which receives a very bright white light, a light which is so bright that most people cannot look at it in fear of being blinded. My diamond doesn't have to be big, but it has to be pure. The purer, the better it will be able to reflect or to refract the white light into beams of many colors in the spectrum from infrared to ultraviolet. In that sense, I, the diamond, I'm just an instrument to pass on the light and to make people light according to their own wishes, their own power, their own abilities, their own skills, because they absorb the color that they like, the one that vibrates or resonates with who they are. So now let's jump back on my spiritual swing. My spiritual swing in my inner space. And today, my spiritual friend comes and sits on the swing next to me. And as soon as my spiritual friend sits next to me on the swing, there's a canopy that spreads on top of the swing, a canopy of protection. My spiritual friend and I, we've known each other for so long that we don't need words between us. There's an immediate connection of mutual respect, understanding, and sharing a very clear and pure vibration with love. It feels warm and true. So we are just swinging side by side, and we look at the world down below, and our elevated combined consciousness sends large vibrations of peace to everyone, like a lighthouse. This spiritual swing is mine. In my inner space, no one can take it or invade it. And I can swing on my spiritual swing in my inner space whenever and wherever I want to. It's up to me. It's up to me to decide what I want to do with my mind, what kind of food I want to give to my mind, knowing that the more I give elevated food to my mind, the more I will be able to send out elevated vibrations, which is what the world needs now, on top of all the rest. So that's service of the mind, as well as service through the mind. Thank you. I hope it helped you. Up to you.
Merci, Benoît. That was nice. And I like the point where you shared about the balance and not to suppress, as well as being in that state of mind or state of consciousness, which is elevated, so that in a very natural way, our thoughts have that frequency or the vibration to affect those around us and also in the world. And were those images created by you, the art created
Yes.
by you?
I hope you could see them clearly, because I was not sure that you would see them fully on the screen. Yes?
Yeah, we could see them, and it was good to see bright colors that you had used that show the energy that is reflecting out as well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us for today's session and sharing your thoughts and meditation, Benoît.
Well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It was my pleasure.
So before we conclude, just short announcement for the next 1.1 session, which happens to be on 19th of August. And this is going to be a special one as we celebrate the 100th session of 1.1ness. We are going to have Sister Jayanti with us and also Shashin Shah, who's the CEO of Onepoint. So look forward to having you on 19th of August, Friday, 9 a.m. And also all the sessions are recorded and available on YouTube for you to watch anytime that you would like. Thank you for joining us today. Have a nice day.